Hi and welcome to the channel. Through this video, we are going to learn about AWS RDS. The practical objective of this video is to launch PostgreSQL database instance using AWS RDS and make a connectivity from a Springboot Java application. This sample Springboot Java application makes use of Spring Data and Hibernate to establish the connectivity with PostgreSQL DB instance. This sample Springboot Java application is available through my GitHub. The links are provided in the description. If you are not a Java developer, you can still enjoy this video. I'll be demonstrating the similar stuff using PGAdmin. Some of the basic concepts of the AWS RDS is the RDS stands for Relational Database Service. It manages the Relational Database Management System, the DB engines. It is very easier to launch, run and manage the database using the RDS. AWS RDS uses the virtual machine to do launch the database. Underlying infrastructure is the responsibility of AWS RDS itself. It manages all the patches and updates on the database required to be done by itself. Most of the time, user does not require any kind of administrative skill in very expert level. The performance tuning for the systems are supported through the parameter groups, where more than 300 parameters are exposed for the MySQL database and also for the different databases, which allows to tweak the value and adjust to the optimum level to suit the performance for the workload that is required to be run. It also allows to monitor the health and performances from the console. Encryption options are provided for the data at rest and also the data in transit. The automatic and manual backups are supported. It also supports MySQL database, PostgreSQL, Amazon Aurora, MariaDB, Oracle DB, and MS SQL Server. So these are the 6 DB engines of the DBMS packages which are supported as of the day by AWS RDS. So why to wait? Let's jump for the demo and see how we can launch the RDS instance of PostgreSQL DB, and we can connect using the Postgre PGAdmin as well as from the Spring project. So for that, you have to be logged into your management console using your credentials, and you can choose the region where you want to launch the AWS RDS instance. After that, you can click on the services here to navigate to the RDS Relational Database Service. If it's your first time, you should see the splash screen, which can be matching with the one I have here. Otherwise, it will show some of the details of the database. So as of now, I do not have any of the databases created. So I can click on create database. You can follow along if you want. And then you will see the options to choose from. The PostgreSQL is our target, so we'll be choosing the PostgreSQL for today's demonstration. If you are not launching the database for any staging or production, you can eliminate the possibility for charges by selecting the checkbox over here, which says that only enable option eligible for RDS free user tier or users tier. So after that, what happens? All of the option in the next screens will be disappeared, which has any applicable charges for you. So it will only keep the options which are freely available to us. In this screen, the license and the version numbers are the first two things which displays. You can leave the license as it is. The version numbers also you can go with the default one. Here As we have chosen the free tier, so we have only option of going with the DB2 T2 Micro, which has the 1 vCPU and 1 GB of RAM. If we get rid of this, then you can see plenty of option. You can calculate the kind of workload you are running and then change the instance type according to your need. Otherwise, good to stick with this if you are going for just a testing or getting a flavor of how RDS works. In the non-free tier, it also supports the multi-AZ, multi-availability zone deployment, where you can also create some of the read replicas. The read replicas are the instances for the source DB, which has the asynchronous copy of the source DB database, which can be used to serve the read traffic basically. It will automatically give the default 20 GB of storage. We'll just take whatever default. We are not going to make any changes anywhere except for the name that we are going to give. So we'll give a database instance identifier name as some name. So I'm going to use the code school as a name over here. I'll give a master username, so I can give any name for as a user, and later I have to remember because while connectivity I use the similar details. So while you are keying in, please do remember these details that you are putting as a user ID, password, DB instance, identifier names, and etc. So that while you are connecting through the client, the same information should be given. Yes, so this is the more interesting part here, the configuration is advanced settings, this section, basically where you will see the VPC. Always it's a best practice to deploy the database using the custom VPC and not in a default VPC, in the custom VPC along with the private subnet. So subnet should be created with the options available in a VPC to make sure that the subnet that you are creating is a private subnet and it is not visible outside. So private subnet has a different routing table which will not make this the instances inside the subnet will not be exposed outside. It will not be visible outside. So this is the networking concept over here. But for my demonstration, I'll be using default VPC, default subnet, but this is all against the practice. You're not going to do that for your production or staging or any of the real-time uses. So you have to stick with the best practice. Here I'm again going against the practices, so I'm choosing the public accessibility, which will change the security group with accessibility outside, which is not advisable, but I will be doing because I'm going to access this database from my laptop local machine, which is in the internet. So but ideally when your application ecosystems are deployed, your application server and your database server both will go in a cloud in the same infrastructure. So it will follow the same VPC, two different subnet groups possibly. So for that, it should be all this setting. So you should have a custom VPC with the private subnet and no public accessibility outside. And I'm going just against all this, right? So here it will show all the availability zones. You can pick up one if you want, but I'm having no preference. It can choose by itself. I'm going to create a security group. I have an option to just select this, and if there is any, I can take it up, but I'll just go and create a fresh one. So it will create basically for me. I'll give a database name. I'm going to, so this will make sure once the database is, once the DB instance is launched, it will also create one database for me, and that will have the name as a user DB. I can modify the port or I can go with the default port. So both of the options are available. Suppose if you are using more than one databases, in the same infrastructure, and if you want to make any port changes, or if you don't want to continue with the default ports, you want to make some of the you want to just change the port so that you do not follow the default port, maybe for the security reasons or some other reason, so you can change your port from here. I will be again going along with the default values. But best practices, you should define your company standard for the port and choose the port that is guided through the practices. One more best practice is to use the IAM DB authentication instead of the database authentication, the granting permission directly from the database. Rather than we should use the any user, whether he can do certain type of operations on a DB will be defined by the IAM role and policies for the user. So that is also something you can think of when you are going for a staging production kind of workloads. Encryption, which is not supported for the free tier, but you can choose the other than free tier, and then if you use the different instance class, it will support the different storage type. When your instance type changes, a lot of the things changes in the hardware and virtualization, and that will start supporting the encryption. So you can enable the encryption, which will start supporting the encryption. For Postgre, it is KMS. For MySQL and other databases, except for Oracle, is KMS. Only Oracle supports the Cloud HSM, which is a hardware security module available from the Amazon, which is like a single tenant hardware based module, security module basically, which handles the keys basically. Here for rest of the other databases, the KMS is managing the key, which is being used by RDS to encrypt the data. So whenever there is a insert or update of the data while it is at the rest inside the table basically will be encrypted, and when the data is pulled out or requested through the select query will be decrypted and given back. So that is the data at rest, which is controlled by this encryption. Also, along with the table based data, you can also choose to encrypt the snapshots that you are taken. So backups can be also encrypted for the security reasons. You can choose how your backup should work. Right now, I do not have any preference here. So I'll go with the default, but you have a automatic backup retention period is 35 days, I believe. So maximum it will sustain your data into the S3 bucket for 35 days, which is taken automatically. The manual backups doesn't come with the retention. It is all like retain until unless you go and manually delete it. So data will be retained as long as you want it to retain. That's true for the manual backups. The backups which are taken by RDS, which is the automatic backups, are having the expiration or retention time as a 35 days. So 35th day, midnight, I believe, the database will be deleted automatically. So this is the thing why you take the data backups, because you want to recover the system whenever there is a crashes. So any disaster situation, if you want to tackle, you can tackle through the data backups you have taken. Or if there is an accidental delete of data and you want to switch back to the previous version of the data, which is very easy to do it in the RDS basically. So there are options there where you can go to the previous snapshots and restore to that backup point. Generally, the backups are very efficient. They will only perform the backup on the diff if it's frequent backups. If there is a backup as a daily or weekly or monthly, that is like a full day data will be taken. Otherwise, if it's a continuous frequent data backups, that is only block wise the diff of the data the blocks which are modifying in the data will be only taken. That means the incremental backup will be taken basically. If you want to enable the monitoring, this is the monitoring which will always show the different metrics which is collected through the CloudWatch, and it will keep on showing you if any of the things are not going well or well. Here through this also you can have the option to subscribe to the event basically, so you can hook to the events and get updated over email or SMS about what is happening with the system. You can also see the performance insights. It's all the data which is collected. So anywhere if you are having the KMS applied, if there is encryptions applied or something, you can see that. That's all you have. This is the one nice, interesting, small feature, but very useful. Suppose there is a database is accidentally attempted to be deleted. So this will protect any kind of accidental delete happens. So it will remind you the delete protection is enabled. So you have to go disable it. Then only you can delete it. So let's create the database by clicking the create database. It will take some of the time to launch the DB. It takes nearly 3 to 4 minutes for the kind of configuration we have chosen. How we'll come to know the database is fully created is once these informations over here are populated. So endpoint is the host name, which can be used from the client side to make a connectivity here. So once the endpoint, port number, etc. are populated over here, we can assume that the database is up and running. So currently it is creating, and you can see the instance status will show as creating. Rest of the other details are available to be verified, but right now we are not much interested. So let's have a look at the parameter groups. Here in the parameter groups, this is the parameter groups for Postgres, the version that we are using 10.x. And you will see there are 300 plus parameters are supported over here for performance tuning. So if you want to basically these are all set with the right values according to the practices, but still there will be your nature of traffic and nature of operations that you are doing. So maybe you are doing more of the read or mix of the read and write, or somewhere you are having lots of data, only dumping it, and there is no read operations frequently. So you may like to tweak some of the value to make it more performant for your workload, so that you can achieve it through the parameter groups. Coming back to the DB instance, still this must not be created because it takes more time than this. So let's get back to the our PPT, and let's have the basically rest of the slides finished. So what is the right use cases for AWS RDS? What is the industry use cases? So these are the 3 use cases I have found in the Amazon's website, where the featured customers are basically using for the Airbnb is using for web application and mobile applications exhaustively. So they have RDS database. The database is launched through the RDS, and they are managing their databases using the RDS. And they are doing so for the web applications and the mobile applications. Similarly, for the Instacart, it's one of the leading e-commerce company, which is also using the RDS to launch and manage their databases, and they are doing it from for the e-commerce applications they have. So it's one of the leading e-commerce company which is using for the e-commerce platform basically. There's another company called Bandai Namco. It is basically into the mobile games, more on the online and internet-based mobile games basically. They are using for the mobile and online games. So these are the main use cases. These companies are using it today, the AWS RDS. So generally all the companies uses the relational databases, but these are the companies. You can find it publicly listed into the Amazon, which is using the RDS to manage the relational database management systems. There are a few other RDS major customers, which are Unilever, Expedia, Netflix, GE, Blackboard, Intuit, and these companies which are using the RDS very, very exhaustively today. So coming back, so this is kind of done, and we are nearly concluding it basically. So this is basically taking, whenever there is a database created, it will automatically take the first backup, and you can go and see the snapshot over here, which will be currently, which is in progress right now. So once the database is created, it takes an immediate backup. So along with the database, there is a backup which is taken. So now your database is available for operations, though there is a backup going on, but still you can use the database. Once the database is created fully, you get a endpoint information, which is basically nothing but your host name for the database. Using this, you are going to make a connectivity. So let's go back to the PG client first. So this is the PG client. You can download if you want the PG client 4.x version that I am using for Windows, but also available for Mac, and the pip version is available for Linux. You can download from this website. You can find the details in the description below to do that. So I'll just start the PGAdmin and then test the database. So my PGAdmin is starting right now. Once it is up, then from the server, so this is the previous instance. Let me delete and create again one of the server, and I'll give the name as the code school. The instance identifier I have given there, I'm going to give it same over here so that I identify well. Connection, this is the host. The endpoint has to be given here, and user ID password, that if you have changed it or whatever you have given for your database creation, you can follow the same over here. I'm going to click on the save, which will also try the connectivity internally. If it's successful, then you should see the database details along with the schemas and having the schema as a table. So there's no table created as of now, so that's not showing over here. So this is all about the PG4admin. Basically, we'll go back to our Eclipse or STS where Spring projects are there. I'm going to, this is my Spring project, which is basically saves some of the user data, and it is going to manage the user information. It has one table, users table, which will have the basic information about the users. This is basically a REST application in the Spring Boot, which is connecting to the PostgreSQL DB in the AWS to save the data, and wherever the data is demanded, it will produce the data. So I'm going to just update my RDS details, the RDS host detail here, and rest of the things it will be same. I have not modified the port. I have not also modified the user database. The database. So it's a user DB, and these are the credentials that that is there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just launch the application. Once this is launched, we can have the data basically to be saved and pulled out. So firstly, what we'll do, we are going to just make a call with the get operation, which will try to pull out the data. So this application is not yet up and running. So let's see that if it is. No, it is still starting. So let it fully start. We have to wait for the application to be up and running, which will be done in a couple of more seconds. When it is first time launching with the Postgre connectivity, it takes a little bit of time to make a connection. And after that, it will pull the connection. So next time onward should be faster, or my internet connectivity is not that good, maybe. Because of that, it also takes some of the time, it takes more time. So let's wait for the connection to be completed. Once the connectivity is done and we see the Tomcat is started with port number something, then that says it is successful and starting. So first time the connection was failed, but second attempt the connection connected, and now it is running and it is ready to be connected from the Postman. So you can do the curl. If you do not have a Postman tool, you can do the curl command. This is the URL which I'm running my application on port 5000, and it's running on my local, so I can use the local host. It should list the user if any. So there is no user. I can verify. We can go and verify if there is a user. So say if there is a table, we can refresh. So now we should see the users table. So this is the users table, which is named as a user data. And if there is anything over here, so do we see any of the data over here? So there is no data basically so far. You can see the select script. So if there is any of the data inside the table, we should be able to just type the select query and list out. So it has done for us basically. So we can just run the query, and we see there is nothing inside the table right now, and that is what we get, a blank. And next, what we are going to do is we are going to fire the post operation on the same service, but this time this is the method of the operation is post with the value as a JSON data. Once this is successful, we get a 200. Okay, that means the operation was successful. Let's go back to database and run this query one more time to see if there is anything in database right now. Yeah, so one of the record got inserted. If we change the value to something else, it should say save that value as well. So this is the new value I'm trying to insert. And if I do the get operation again, it should show 2 of the data. And same thing over here, it should be able to produce the 2 of the records for me, right? So this is the 2 of the records. And here we have the 2 of the data in the JSON format, which is my REST application. The Spring application is formatting and giving in this way. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the last name for one of the user which has the ID 1, which is Neeraj. So Neeraj has the last name as a Singh, but I'm going to run the put method now, which is going to update the data. So I'm going to change the data set last name from Singh to Kumar, and let's see what happens. So this operation is 200 okay as well. So let's pull out the data one more time and see that if that changed. Yeah, so the data got changed over here. Let's go to the PGAdmin and see that what happens to the data over here. Okay, all right, so the data is modified here as well. So instead of Neeraj Singh, this is Neeraj Kumar. By the way, if I want to delete any of the records, suppose I have entered Neeraj Kumar, or the user Neeraj Kumar has left the organization, or he is no longer required to be managed as a user, then I can delete Neeraj Kumar from the system. So ID for the Neeraj Kumar is 1. And I'm going to give the ID to the system to delete Neeraj Kumar's record. Once it is successful, we see the 200 OK. Go back to the get method, try to invoke the get method, and we see only 1 record. Let's confirm that from the database whether we have 1 record or 2 records. So yeah, Neeraj Kumar is deleted. So this is how the whole application works. Folks, I think you like the video. Please do share these videos. Subscribe to the channel if you have stick to the whole video, and try to watch all that and learn the AWS RDS along. So thanks for that, and please do subscribe. Have a good day.